What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com. Welcome to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. I appreciate you guys so very much. Over 1,400 episodes and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this would be possible without you guys, so I thank you so very much. And yes, we are still living a bit of a quarantine life. COVID-19 has changed everything, including how we eat. So I've got my good friend here, Miss Carol Jones, who's going to talk about her amazing new cookbook, which is going to change the way that you cook for you and your family. Hey, Carol.
Hello, Ash. How are you?
I am doing pretty awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. So, Carol, what part of the country are you holding down right now?
I am holding down as best I can southwest Minnesota, really the middle of nowhere. A little town called Cottonwood, Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
So we're like 3 hours west of Minneapolis and about 2 hours east of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Really, truly the middle of nowhere.
Oh, wow. So what kind of temperatures are you guys having?
You know, here in Minnesota, we are enjoying the highs in the 70s. So for us, that's, just beginning of fall. And, living in Minnesota, my kids have a very different version of what's warm versus cold. So we're enjoying these fall temperatures.
All right. So we're here to talk all about your new cookbook. So the 30-minute cooking from Frozen Cookbook. So where did the idea for this particular project come from?
So if I'm going to be 100% honest, it did not come from me. I had, so I've been a food blogger for 12 years, and I definitely specialize in simple family recipes. I'm a mom of 6 children. Oh, wow. So it has to be simple, it has to be quick, and it has to be kid-friendly, Yeah. So I've been doing that for 12 years. And the publisher actually reached out to me. I just got that little magic email and said, this is what we're thinking, and we think you'd be a perfect fit. And I was like, you know what? I think it's a great idea because I do love the quick and easy-to-use products that are in the freezer, but it was them approaching me. I've written some self-published cookbooks up to this point, but this is, them approaching me saying, hey, we think you'd be a great fit. And I'm like, well, thank you. I think I would be as well. The funny part of it was in the midst of kind of a social media and news media storm for our family. A video of my son trying on colorblind glasses for the first time that his principal had given him was in the midst of going viral. So when I got this email, I'm like, all right, they saw my video, and we'd been on talk shows and national news. That's where I thought the genesis of this was. So the fact that they didn't know anything about that, I'm like, oh, you mean you actually like my work? Wonderful. I love that.
That is amazing. All right, so you've got this idea. They basically put this, they dropped a little nugget on you and said, hey, we think this would be good for you. Let's move forward on a possible project. So how did you gather these recipes?
So my timeline was 6 weeks. They said, if we're going to make this work, can you, and this, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but there's 100 recipes in this cookbook. So can you come up with 100 new recipes in 6 weeks? And I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to say no. Well, of course I can. So, and this was pre-COVID, this was before the world shut down. So, I'm like, definitely I can. I actually got sick with what I was diagnosed with as pneumonia a week after I signed the contract, which I now wonder if it was COVID. I would love to go get one of the antibodies tests. Anyways, I was down for 3 weeks in the midst of it all, but, thank goodness of the grace of God because I made it through getting this cookbook out with 100 brand new recipes. And the first thing I did is I spent 2 hours in the freezer section of the 3 grocery stores that we have here. Just walking up and down and learning, because I knew what I knew in the freezer section, but I wanted to take the time to educate myself and learn about truly what was available to me. So once I kind of had like this inventory of really quality ingredients that I could use that weren't like frozen burritos,
Yeah.
something that was true whole foods that I could turn into a great family recipe.
Mm-hmm.
It was no different for me than when I make a recipe on my blog. I know what works well. I know what my family likes. And
Right.
I just, for me, I like variety in regional flavors. I like variety in healthy versus indulgent. I like variety in kid-friendly versus pushing that envelope of, expanding my family's taste and what they like. So it's kind of after 12 years of food blogging, it's kind of a natural process for me, doing that recipe creation.
Gotcha. So how did your family adapt with you creating this book? Because I know that must have been plenty of testing at the test table with the kiddos.
There was so much food in my house. Like every night at dinner, we would just pull out everything that was in the fridge. They would come home from school. Mom, what do you have for us to test today? Like, well, I have this dessert and I have this breakfast, and they'd give me feedback, because obviously a lot of things didn't work, or, this was version 2, but version 3 was a little bit better. Anyway, so much food, and we shared it with friends and family as well. But yes, there was an abundant amount of food in the Jones household.
I can imagine. What would you say as far as a takeaway, as in the development stages that you're figuring out these, because you've got 100 recipes in 6 weeks to figure out, what would you say was your biggest hurdle?
Outside of being sick, which, is out of my hands, the biggest hurdle, I think, was just, for me, I wanted to make sure that there was enough of variety, right? I didn't want all the vegetarian recipes that are in my book, I think there's 14 or 15 of them in there, to all have black beans, right?
Yes.
I didn't want them to all be Southwest flavors. I wanted to make sure that I was hitting the different culinary regions of the world and different ingredients, because just because something resonates with me and my family doesn't mean, it's going to resonate with you and your family. So that was, for me, making sure that I was trying to hit as broad of an audience as possible and having the confidence to be able to do so. Because, when you're in the midst of this process, you go through a little bit of those self-doubts, am I really good enough to be doing this? Is this really as delicious as I think it is?
Yeah.
So definitely that was the hurdle.
Gotcha. And lastly, ultimately, what do you want guests, clients, people to get from this cookbook?
I want you to not be afraid of getting in the kitchen. It's been not only the purpose of this cookbook, but it's the purpose of everything I've done in my business. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Right.
And if you can use the amazing ingredients in the frozen food section to give you the confidence to step into your kitchen and make some simple food for your family, what an amazing experience. I'm a big believer that there is, power in sitting down and breaking bread together as a family. And I love to get my kids in the kitchen to help me with that. And again, doesn't have to be fancy. Go into your freezer section and use the chopped frozen onions instead of having to chop them up. Go grab those minced cubes of garlic, all the pre-prepped and frozen and prepared things, and then turn them into something completely different. It's an amazing, powerful, empowering tool for you that I think most people don't realize is right there in their grocery store.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. I mean, just with this COVID stuff that's going on, and I've been traveling recently, it's just made life so much easier. I've definitely jumped into the frozen section. So when I heard about your book, I was like, okay, this is what I've been doing, but I need to follow someone's actual instruction on some of this stuff. I know I might be missing some pieces.
There are a few tips and tricks that are in the cookbook of using frozen ingredients so that you don't end up with watery, mushy food, because there is a little bit of extra water, but if you have the right tips and tricks, you'll never know the difference. You won't not even know. So.
Gotcha. Carol Jones, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Ash, for having me.
And let everyone know how they can get the book and, of course, to stay in good contact and what's going on with you next.
You can find me on any social media at the Carol Jones, Carol with an E, Carole. You can also catch up with me on my blog. Just click on mykitchenescapades.com. There's a link there for the cookbook. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble, your favorite bookseller. And I'm working on cookbook number 2 already, so I'd love for you guys to follow along with the journey.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Carol, much success to you in 2021 and beyond, okay? We're claiming it. 2021 is going to be our year. Good energy, good vibrations. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face. You tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.